Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner. Classics and non-classics. This is episode number 3157. Doubleshot 3051. Yeah, we have two very interesting titles. This one was a title that was published in the 1990s that was recolored. That was basically colored in the 2010s. A book I did review when it was coming out. And of course, I read the original book, and reviewing this is kind of like saying, yeah, I reviewed the original run. So, we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Urban Legends, which contains the first 13 issues of this 26-issue comic book. I have technically reviewed the second half of this book, and so, from what I've heard about this book, the reception toward this one was published in the 90s. Originally, this book lasted for 13 issues. And then it got canceled. And then they got back over to Mirage for about 9 years. Came back in 2001, left in 2010, and then basically moved over to IDW, which it's still there. After 14 years, it is still there, despite all the craziness IDW has gone through the last few years due to layoff most of its editorial staff. The fact they can't even hire any good writers, except maybe Jason Aaron. Yeah, he's like the only writer who actually worth a lot of money. Like, I've heard someone describe basically Colin Kelly, Jackson Lazing, the writers of one of the Star Trek books, as the cheapest writers around. Yep. Now, this book was originally drawn by Eric Larson. Now, the Turtles debuted in the Image Universe in the issue of Savage Dragon, which for some reason IDW decided to collect this. And here, despite the fact Eric Larson is the editor of this book, and he also is doing inking for this book. Now, the first 13 issues of this book was, in fact, the original issues that were released back in the 1990s. Yes, but Eric Larson, he does inking, and he also does the editor. He was the original series editor. They actually, he just does inking in this book, despite the fact he's also doing Savage Dragon here. The book is written by Gary Carlson, art by Frank Fosco. Yes, now, because the fact I did look this up, that the original image run for Teenage Mutant Turtles published in the 90s lasted 13 issues, and it was never finished. Now, the first 13 issues of this book are those original 13 issues. And then the second half of the book was the original planned issues, but were canceled for reasons. Now, I've heard the reception of this run has been pretty negative. To the point where one of the creators actually deemed this book not canon to the Mirage continuity, despite the fact that the book tried to tie into it due to the fact that all the Turtles wear red ninja bands. Headbands, red mask, just like in the covers of the original run. Yes. So we start off with this 2-page spread of In the Turtles' Lair, where we have Splinter, Michelangelo. By the way, a lot of the time in the book, basically the Turtles would not wear the mask. But they only tell who's who is because of, well, their weapons. Kind of similar to the original IDW, the original Mirage one. So, they get, like, basically someone's playing for this, like, yeah, so something is wrong. Something's having one of the Turtles. So we just have, looks like Donatello, possibly Raphael against the skull, and of course you have Michelangelo with a fishbowl and look like, oh, I think it was his birthday. So, then the lair is stormed by 2 cyborgs. Yep, I can tell it's Raph because of the size. Oh, it's basically, it looks like it's Raphael, Michelangelo, and looks like Leonardo. They're attacked by these 3 cyborgs. And Raphael's like, for Pete's sake, who invited cyborgs? There's nothing I hate more than stinking cyborgs. Happy birthday, freaks. It's gonna be the last one. What's the matter, shorty? Never had a surprise party before? I got a present for you right here. Don't have time to wrap it up. Ha ha. I'm willing to wait. Yeah. I'd say probably I pulled down the good Raphael and the cyborgs because it's cyborgs. Do you recognize Leonardo? No, Master Splinter. I've never seen one with a knife. Yes. Because they're at Image Comics, of course, basically. Because Image 1980s guns! Yes, that's the thing. Because Raphael basically got one no problem. And you're wondering, where the heck is Donatello? Well, they're a little later. So, then they're attacked by this beautiful woman wearing a mask. You can see lots of skin with her, and I do mean lots of skin. And she is an original character for this book. Yep, she is like, they kidnapped Splinter. And of course, let's have basically a butt shot for her because sexy lady. Oh yeah, they take out one of the cyborgs, and of course they get away. And they would take one of the turtles' bloody, which turtle, I think this might be Donatello. And we get flashback what's going on. Apparently they celebrate their birthdays. Apparently they're 18, so if this was set in the Mirage continuity, this was set 3 years after the end of the previous volume. So they're all celebrating, and then of course, when the guns show up, I think it's like Donatello. Like, and then of course he takes out one of them. He's able to basically jump out no problem. And we don't see him again for a bit. And of course basically we have the three main turtles studying the cyborg. Now the thing is, if Donatello's here, he just said no problem. But basically they're just doing what they can. It's weird. We have really in the house take his tongue out. That's not something he normally does. We see Michelangelo eating pizza, which, yes, that's something he normally would do. And of course, basically, it's like, so the armor talks, basically, then we have, looks like it's Raphael's face gets blasted. Yeah, and part of his face is melted. Yep, the whole thing with this run, one thing I heard that was very much, people didn't like very much with this run, was the fact that Erik Larsen basically openly changed the Turtles. Actually, more like the writer did. He pretty much basically edited the book like that. I don't know if this was actually one of the creators' ideas to do this, or this was basically somebody else. So, then of course, basically we have Leonardo getting in contact with Master Splinter. Similar would happen in the very first Team of Team, which good at basically doing that. Movie issue 2, where we have Donatello taking one of the cyborgs while falling out of a freaking helicopter. Yes, a helicopter. So the woman's name is Pimco. Okay. So yeah, then they put Splinter into a cell, and then they proceed to hold a gun that looks like a nail gun at him. That's the plan. Of course, she threatens the guy, and then she actually hits him. He starts bleeding, and then we see it looks like he's eaten by, looks like a shark man. Yes, a shark man. They have turtles basically, well, somehow they're lairs, so that means they gotta look for a new place to live. You read this, it started off like, wait a minute. Where is Casey Jones? Where is April O'Neil? Well, you'll find out. Also, where in the world is Shredder? Well, they do show him later on. He's actually confirmed to be dead. Yeah, he is not in this book at all. He is 100% complete dead. And there's a joke like, how many times have to kill you? Yes. So we can say, of course, you have this female ninja spying on them. Her name is Angel. And of course, looking to modify this, whoever this person is. He goes crazy. And it seems like he's supposed to be this book's version of Wolverine. He gets killed right away. You can tell he's supposed to be Wolverine because of the claws. I'm sure probably Erik Larsen probably had to get a cease and desist from Marvel Comics over this. Because, you know, it's too similar to... Because of the fact this character is way too similar to Wolverine because of the claw. I get the fact that the hair You get the hair thing, but the claws thing, yeah, that's Wolverine. So, except this guy dies right away. Yeah, so they get in contact with him, but they also find Raphael. Yeah, and it takes them basically to get back to him. They don't find him right away, and of course, Ninja Babes. Yep. And Pimco shows up. Yep. So they're prepared to fight. And of course, then they examine Splinter like, oh, because he's a special ninja. And then we see, get this. Then we see one guy must go like, oh, Ted's in the bath, like, oh. And then Splinter gets in the bath after basically having a chat. He gets in the bath later on. Of course, they explain his backstory, the whole thing of like, which is from the Mirage one, which could have been doing that. And of course, basically just then we have Splinter basically in this bath with two beautiful women, and they're both butt naked, and they're washing him. And I'm like, how do they feel about washing a mutated rat? Man, yes. Then we have Michelangelo. Actually, it's more like, yeah, Michelangelo and Raphael fighting ninja women, which of course we gotta show up how much skin they have and show up the rear end and fighting them off for a bit. And oh yeah, they actually get captured. Yep. With the exception of Leonardo. And then like show them around, and then of course we have the Sharkman show up. Apparently it was Marco. So then they find, oh, it looks like it'd be Donatello's shell, which they think it's Donatello, but nope, it's actually not him. It's actually somebody who's a different skeleton. So then, of course, so in order for Raphael to go in public, he puts on one of Casey Jones' masks. Yes, like he's Ben Grimm from the Fantastic Four from the 90s, where he has face mutated. So yeah, it's not Raphael, but it's not Donatello, but definitely Donatello's shell. And then they decided to go into a flying car, like during the trios from the '87 show. And then we have Splinter about to take on Marco the Sharkman. Yes, I think on Lizard, and then we see that apparently that the guy who was working in Bait, apparently he was also a monster too. He was mutated, and it's like, I think Donatello's dead, but nope, he is not dead. Oh no, he is not dead. And they do find him. Takes some time, but they find him. And then, for some reason, Donatello is turned into a cyborg. Yep, he is turned into a cyborg. This was another change, basically, people were not fans of, what I read. Yeah, a lot of the stuff they have in this book, this was not popular at all. So, yeah, Donatello became a cyborg, and eventually they go, like, look like a version of, like, feudal Japan for some reason. Actually go, like, the fortress they break in. So, they break in, take on, basically, Pimco, and they see this bat creature, which they take on the very next issue. And you're still reading this, which, by the way, we are basically about halfway to this book, issues released here, and wondering, where in the world is Casey Jones? Where is April O'Neil? Where is the hand? Oh, excuse me, the foot. Not here yet. So, basically, they're reunited with Donnie, who is the cyborg now. So, it takes a bit of time. They are fighting him, and to get back to his senses. Yeah, why get rid of his shell? And then, it looks like finally, we have Casey Jones finally show up here, who's wearing different masks, and they wear like a red, white, and blue mask. So yeah. Yeah, Casey gets back to this. I think Casey's more like, he's more of Raphael's best friend than he is everybody else. And then we finally see April O'Neil finally shows up. Yep. Great to see him again. Like, oh, they had the fall in love practicing. And then we have where, yeah, it looks like Michelangelo playing with a little girl. I think this is supposed to be Shadow. Yeah, Shadow, I think, is supposed to be Keijo's adopted daughter. Mm-hmm. And then the little girl is like in this like little closet in here. Mm-hmm. Because remember correctly, Shadow basically was the girl he briefly married the girl's mother, and then the mother passed away right after giving birth, and he just adopted the girl as his own. Yep. So, and of course, basically, yeah, they go about, and you think about at this point, oh, we're gonna see the Shredder here. Well, they have their date, and everything kind of goes bad, and then we see like a mobster in here. Yeah, yeah, and we have just like a lot of action here. Finally, no ninjas at the moment. So I think April's one once again, just like did it in the original volume. Mm-hmm. They hung out there because the Foot found out where they lived. So, yeah, they had this stuff with a church for some reason. Takes the girl out of there. Dad, Mommy April. Yep. Reunited as her daughter was taken. And then they go to Midway City, home of the Gala White Knight. You look at this guy, yeah, he is clearly a parody of Nightwing. So yeah. I think the bat is supposed to be Master Split, but I don't know if he is. And then they run into the Night Watchman, which you can have a look at this guy. Yeah, he is clearly Batman. Well, he used to take on Batman based on his figure. Yep. But we do have a big green guest star later. We'll get to him. And this cover here is clearly inspired by Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns. And then they go to Chicago for the next issue. Well, while they're in Chicago, I think, oh my gosh, it's Savage Dragon himself. Yep. I'm sure Eric Larson was very happy to see us colored, given the fact that he actually is the creator behind the character. He probably was not a fan of the fact that his character was drawn black and white, but here we go. So yeah, like all the Turtles, they remember each other because in issue Savage Dragon. They go to Dalton Trick, meet up with characters from Savage Dragon. They hang out with one of the characters who becomes Mikey's girlfriend. And April's with her daughter. They come beside her face, and of course they do each other for a bit, and then we have more Death Watch, and then we have it's like cute, really, yeah. And of course Michelangelo proceeds to make out with the girl. It's like more. It's like lips, oops, yeep. What's going here? Yep, and what do you say yourself? He thinks I'm cute. Yeah, it's so funny. And then we have Savage Dragon working with Don Till, taking more of Death Watch characters from the Savage Dragon book. It's like, this issue is more like, yeah, let's just basically do a Savage Dragon issue, but rewritten to feature the Turtles. Because basically it features a guest star cast. And then they go back for next issue. They have next issue more like in space. And we have like... And we have a female turtle. Except it just basically it's like shapeshifter. Yeah, I wonder if that's a take on the next Mutation show. I wonder so. But at least we'll call her Venus. So yeah, so we have more stuff for Savage Dragon. We have Casey and April just hang out with Raphael. Big hole in the ground, possibly somebody is. And of course they with the mobsters, because of course they do. And this is right here where they finally find out what's going on with the Shredder. Like, you're thinking, is he back? And we see more stuff with Death Watch. Like, oh crap, it's the Shredder! Except it's not him. Yep. It's more like his armors. Yep. And one of these armors, I think it's the first one here, I think that's a nod to the 03 show. Yep. So they fought off more Death Watch here, and then Raphael becomes Shredder. He just puts on the outfit, and that's book ends. Right there. Very interesting book, and with that, I am done reviewing the original TV from, from Image. Urban Legends, Standing Urban Legends. Really good book. I can see why he would like this book. I enjoyed this book. I mean, it's his own thing. I'm going to give the book roughly a 9 out of 10. Final thoughts on TMNT Urban Legends. Very interesting book. Yes. And you can see basically when it went. And I guess there was a demand to recolor these issues because Idea was recoloring the Mirage issues, so I guess they figured, oh, hey, why not recolor the Image issues too? So there's that. Next up we have is from Cody Ziegler, the final Spider-Punk trade. Battle of the Band. Most of for this book, this is after the previous book. Basically, it's him putting his band together. We have debut of the Spider-Van. It's like some stuff you see sort of in Arms Race per se. We see Age of Venom here. We see him take on some villains. You read this book, it's more set up. It's like this whole mini series is for another mini series, Arms Race, which feels like the end of this trilogy of books. But there's not a lot to talk about here per se. And kind of with this, I'm done viewing Spider-Punk. There's nothing else for him. Not really. Give it 8 out of 10. Yep. But yeah, that's particular review. Please be sure to like and subscribe to notifications. So I will see you all tomorrow. My reviews for Upcoming Times 300 Years Maxed Out, My Hero Vigilantes, and Case Closed. Okay, next video. Bye.